joined now by a Democratic senator from Colorado, Michael Bennet, who is, I believe, a member of leadership and, more importantly, celebrating a birthday today. Happy birthday, sir.
I appreciate it. I'm glad to be celebrating with you, Chuck. I don't know.
I'm sure this is what you always dreamed of.
My children, my family.
There's nothing like, yeah. Go ahead.
Another day in paradise, Chuck. Another year older, another day in paradise.
Let me ask this. Why do two wrongs? I'm sure you're a believer that two wrongs don't make a right. President Trump had a ridiculous tweet, but Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi decided to use it as an excuse not to show up to a meeting. Was that the right call?
Well, I think the American people are tired of all of it, and what I particularly am tired of is the fact that we have been running this government for the entire 9 years I've been here on what are called continuing resolution.
Have you ever passed a budget? Have you ever been in the Senate when there was a real budget?
I have not been in the Senate when there was a budget. I have not been in the Senate when money was appropriated in the way that that's 9 years, Chuck.
I know.
And my estimate is that probably 75% of the Senate has never been here when it did its job the way it was supposed to do. And by the way, this is not mysterious. So anybody who's ever been on a school board or on a city council or been a mayor or a governor knows how to do this. This place is getting away with murder, and it has for the last 9 years, and it has to end.
All right, but why?
We are no longer.
I understand that, but I guess look, I get this, but was it the right call not to show up to the meeting? Look, it all became a silly theatrical thing anyway at the White House, so I understand the dynamics on both sides here politically, but why give up the higher ground? Why give up the higher ground?
You understand that both sides were trying to do what they thought they needed to do to create political leverage for a negotiation.
Right.
The issue now is let's have the negotiation. And let's, for example, put at the heart of that discussion what we're going to do for the dreamers that the president has said he doesn't want to deport to a country that they've never been or don't know. And it would seem to me that that is a piece of business we should get done sooner rather than later because it's affecting real families and real lives. And then let's not just figure out how to keep the government open. Let's actually establish a set of budget priorities that are consistent with what people in Colorado actually want, not what somebody wanted or some Democrat and Republican wanted 10 years ago here. I mean, the game we're in.
Yeah,
sorry.
Go ahead. Finish that thought.
I'm just saying the game we're in now is just keeping, the lights on in the land of flickering lights. That's all we're doing.
All right,
Well,
that's what I'm curious. I understand all this, but I guess what's reality here? What's going to happen in the next 4 weeks? Are we going to have, what is your red lines on this? If DACA's not a part of this end of the year government spending bill, do you not support it? Where are we on that?
I look at that a different way. I don't think anybody should go home until DACA is dealt with and until the government is funded. I have a bill, actually, you might be interested in this, with my colleague Cory Gardner, a Republican from Colorado, that we've had for now months, that would say that the next time the government shuts down, the Senate has to report to the floor at 8:30 the next morning, and that if you don't show up, the Sergeant at Arms can arrest you, bring you to the floor, because all we've done since I've been here is shut the government down, and then everybody goes home and, doesn't solve the problem. Instead of talking about shutdowns, instead of creating false cliffs, instead of, appealing to the worst aspects of everybody's nature around here, we know how that movie ends. What we should be doing is figuring out how to restore some confidence in these institutions of ours, not for the sake of the institutions, but because that's how we've all sort of agreed that we're going to proceed in this exercise of self-government that we've had since the founders created it.
Is there, on substance, was there a reason? Does the president need to be in these negotiations on the shutdown, or is Senator Schumer right? This is a deal that has to be struck more with Ryan and McConnell.
Yeah, I don't think it. I think you see you remember that old fiscal cliff deal, which I was one of 8 folks to vote against because I thought it was so terrible. That deal was first negotiated between the President Obama then, and the Speaker. Then they decided they couldn't get along, so Joe Biden and Mitch McConnell negotiated the deal. I think the actors can change. The important point is that the people in the room have to be people that can actually consummate a transaction, can get to a result. Right. This whole place was set up to resolve our disputes, and these days we're using it only to have disputes, and that's why the American people are really tired of it. And by the way, something we haven't even talked about is the tax bill that's on the floor this week, which we're going to have to deal with before we get to any of this other stuff.
Well, I was just going to say is the government, how do you believe the Democrats should use their leverage on the government shutdown to fight on the tax bill? What's your prescription on that?
Well, I'm not sure. I don't think we need, I think that the leverage on the shutdown should be used in the context of the budget. I think on the tax bill, what we have to do is make sure that people understand how unconscionable this bill is. The idea, I mean, just give you one example. This bill that's on the floor gives $34 billion to 500,000 of the richest people in America. $34 billion. It gives in 2019, which is the best year from the Republicans' argument, it gives the 90 million people that make $50,000 and less $140 each. That's $7.50 a paycheck for a bill that they're saying is a middle-class bill. Not only is it not a middle-class bill, they're using it to give tax cuts to people at the very top and borrowing the money from the American people and their children to pay for that. So I think we as Democrats need to make sure that the American people understand what's in this bill. We cannot let them get away with rushing it through the way they're trying to do it. And I think in the end, we may be able to prevail.
How would you prevail? It looks like they have the votes. How do you just hope there's one or two Republicans that side with you guys to stop the plan?
That have a conscience on the question of this giveaway to the wealthiest folks in America, and who are actually going to be consistent on the fiscal stuff that they have complained about for years and years.
Let me ask you one.
Who would have thought?
Let me ask you a big picture question, though, because the president has said it a number of times. Democrats want higher taxes. Do you believe our taxes are high enough, or do you think taxes should be lowered?
Here's what I think. I think that as a country, we are collecting about 18% of our GDP in revenue. That's what we're collecting. We are spending 21% of our GDP in revenue, that creates our deficit. And we are hollowing out discretionary domestic spending. In fact, we're spending 35% less today than we were before. So I believe we should bring those lines together somehow, and we need to do it in a bipartisan way because one party's not going to get it their way. What their plan will do is dramatically increase the deficit and create more pressure on Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and discretionary spending. I would be open to a conversation on the corporate side because we do have the highest published rate in the world. I think we should bring that down, not as far as they do in their bill. And then I think that as a trade, what we should do is dramatically increase the child tax credit, which will benefit working families in this country. That would be a balanced proposal.
Senator Bennet, I got to leave it there. Appreciate you coming on. And nothing like celebrating your birthday right here on cable television.
Believe me, this is the highlight of my day. Thanks, Chuck.